Setting boundaries is not just about saying no. It's everything you feel after. It's the replay loop, it's the second guessing, the urge to go back and fix it. For most people, the hard part isn't even the word no, it's what comes after it. Do you want to achieve your goals, but anxiety is tripping you up? Like to keep those fun weekend plans, but depression has you counseling again? Hey, I'm Lori, dog mom, lover of nature, and hygge enthusiast. Positive psychology skills help me overcome chronic severe PTSD. If you're ready to learn how to overcome your anxiety and depression and rediscover happiness and purpose in life, then get your cozy on and let's get started. Welcome back to Practical Solutions for PTSD. I'm so glad you're joining us for this next installment in our boundary series. And we are starting to wrap this up. We have 2 more episodes after this. So I am going to run through a quick review on what we've talked about, because in today's episode, we're going to start tying this together. And we're going to help you learn not only how to say no, some really basic tips on that, but how to stick to it. Because I'm not going to lie, some of the hardest part of setting boundaries is keeping those boundaries after you've set them. So we're going to talk about that today. But I do want to run a couple things by you. One, I want to remind you that if you are wanting help setting boundaries, please get in touch with me. I would love to be able to get down in the trenches with you, to give you some assessments, some tools to help you refine where you need them, how to set them, some step-by-step examples, and then also to provide you some accountability to make sure that you're sticking to that you're following up. And I do all of this in the coaching sessions that I do on the anxiety and depression breakthrough coaching sessions. I help you get down, figure out what kind of boundaries that you need, what kind are going to work for you, how it ties to your personalities, your values, the mission that you have, how to set those where you're being able to, fence in your energy and use that wisely to align with the purpose and mission that you have. In fact, next week, I'm going to air a portion of a coaching episode with you where I walk through that exact process with a client. And so you get a little bit of an example of what we're doing. But I really will help you customize this because, a lot of the information I'm giving you is totally valid on these podcasts and it works. I've used it, but it is more general in nature because I'm talking to however many of y'all are listening. And so to be able to customize that, to narrow it down, to be able to work for you, this is where the coaching becomes a very powerful tool that can help you. So again, go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough. Has all kinds of information there that I will help coach you on. I'll also personalize it to where you are. This is not a generic program where I start everybody in the exact same spot. I start where you are today and help you build from there. So go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough and book your session with me today. So do a quick rundown of what we've covered. We talked about what boundaries are and what they are not, and they are not walls. We are not trying to push people out, to wall ourselves in, or to cut ourselves off from people. The whole point behind boundaries is that they are bridges to be able to build healthy relationships where you can show up authentically, where you show up honestly as who you are working within the mission that God has given you or the purpose that you're aligned with or however that is for you, where it is working towards the goal that you have for yourself and being able to utilize the energy that you have and to do so wisely, where you can show up 100% or the places where you're supposed to be because you're not spreading yourself so thin with places where you're not supposed to be. So again, our boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. We also talked about a biblical perspective on boundaries. So for those of you that are followers of Christ, and if you've heard this in your life or the culture that you grew up in, that you never say no to anything. If the church asks you to do it, you say yes automatically. Or anything that you're asked to do, you always jump in with both feet and do it. And there is a degree towards that would support the willingness to be able to do what people are asking you to do, to be a team player. But there is also, as we saw in the episode we talked about, there are very clear examples in Scripture of how Jesus Christ himself, along with many others, drew boundaries around their time, their mission, their purpose, and we're driven by purpose and not by pressure. And so being able to guard and protect that and making sure that you're staying aligned with the purpose and mission that God has given you is very, very important. Even when the needs are also important. That may not be aligned with you. That does not mean that it is up to you to fulfill them. So we talked about that. We also talked about why it is so hard to say no. And it's because we often we have a pattern in our life of saying yes. This is what we've done for years. Anytime someone shows up and needs help, we're the first ones to say yes. It comes out of our mouth before we even think about it. Or it could have been a safety, a coping mechanism, making sure that you're keeping the peace or whatever that could be. There's a lot of reasons, and I won't go into all of that. It's in the episode. But we're conditioned to do that. It becomes a pattern, and there is a way to break that. And so we talked about this last week about instituting the pause, where you're waiting 5, 15, 20 seconds before you say yes. And maybe just saying something like, hey, let me think about that. I'll get back to you and let you know. It's something very simple, just to give yourself a little bit of space between the request and the answer, even if you're still saying yes. But it gives you agency and choice in doing that, where it's just not an automatic yes, it's an intentional choice. And that's what we want to move you towards, is that intentional choice, so you can choose where you're spending your energy, where you're spending your time, and what gets your attention. So today we're going to talk about how to say no, and then also sticking to it. So I'm going to give you some very simple, practical examples on how to do that, some tools that you can walk away with today to be able to start implementing that in your life. But when you're setting a boundary, it's not just saying no. It's everything that you feel after. It's that replay loop, the second guessing, the urge to go back and fix it. For most people, the hard part isn't the word no, it's what comes after it. And I can tell you, even after setting boundaries for a while and being a firm believer in this, there are times when I have to say no to things that I really want to do. There's such a desire in my heart to do that, but I know it's not what God has called me to do, or I don't have the energy to do that and be able to fulfill my primary mission. I can't do them both. And so I have to say no, and I still feel that. You still feel that guilt, and maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe I should have dug a little bit deeper and tried a little bit harder. But boundaries, this is what we're going to learn today. Boundaries are decisions. They are not performances. It's a decision you make and how you are stewarding your time and your energy and making sure that you're in line with the purpose that God has given you. So I want to walk you through some simple but powerful ways to say no and how to stay steady afterwards. So we're going to say it simply and stay steady after. We're going to talk about how to say no clearly, how to stay grounded afterwards when your emotions are trying to pull you back into old patterns. And it's very easy to do, especially if you have any portion of a people pleaser and like a single people pleaser bone in your body. It's going to be hard sometimes to stick to that no when you say it. So let's start with why these feelings are so hard. Because when you go to say no, you're not just saying no. You're trying to make sure that the other person isn't upset, they don't misunderstand you. You still seem like the kind, helpful, good team player that you've always been. So what do? We over-explain it. We soften the no. We add context. We try to manage how the other person feels about our boundary. But here's the truth. A boundary is not a performance. As I mentioned earlier, it is a decision. You are not there to deliver a perfectly packaged explanation. You're there to be honest and authentic about who you are, the energy that you have, the calling that you have, what your purpose and mission is, and being aligned to that, and showing up where you show up honestly and authentically. So let's make this very practical and very hands-on, very tactical, because a lot of people get stuck here thinking, I don't know what to say. How do I say no? I don't know how to do this. You don't need a really long script. You just need something simple, repeatable, and grounded. So we're going to start here. 2 simple phrases that you can use. You got a pen and paper. You could also say them out loud with me. So here you go. Number 1, I'm not able to do that. That's it. So say it with me, if you can, out loud. I'm not able to do that. Or here's another one. That doesn't work for me right now. And then you stop. And that's where it gets a little awkward sometimes. um, but you don't have to give long explanations. No detailed breakdown of your schedule. No trying to make the other person completely comfortable with your answer. Because here's what's really happening when we over-explain. It isn't about clarity. It's about trying to control their reaction. It's an attempt to make sure that no one feels uncomfortable. And here's the truth. You are only in control of your own emotions and reactions. You cannot control the other person. And so, again, boundaries are not performances, they are decisions. You can't set boundaries and control how it lands at the same time. These two things do not go together. You do not have control over the other person's reactions. Now, there are times it could help to provide a little bit more explanation. I mean, it could be your best friend saying, hey, I want to go shopping. You want to come join me? Like, no, I can't do that right now. But you want to be able to spend time with them, right? I mean, it's someone that's important to you. You want to be able to connect with them. So you could say, I'm not able to do that, but I'd still love to connect. Can we do something next week? Here's another way you could do it. I can't help with that this week, but I can check in next week. So maybe it's your favorite charity, or you love going down to the dog rescue center and spending time with pets. And they call you up this week saying, we really need you to come down and help us out. But if you're honest and authentic, you know you really can't because your schedule is packed out. Your energy's maxed out. You cannot handle one more thing. So you tell them, I can't help with that this week, but I will check back with you next week to see if there's any way I can help. This allows you to keep your connections without overextending yourself. Because again, boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. And we want to be able to show up authentically in the relationships that we have that we value. And we want to do that honestly. So we want to build bridges and not walls. So now let's talk about the part that usually pulls people back. And this is where a lot of people trip up and fall. And as I said earlier, I can still struggle here as well. And that's what happens after you say no, because this is where the spiral begins. You might feel guilty. You start second guessing the decision, and you have this overwhelming urge to go back and fix it. And your thoughts might sound something like, maybe I was too quick with that no. Or maybe I could have made it work if I tried harder. Or I don't want them to feel bad. I want to be a team player. And this is the moment when the old pattern tries to re-enter. Not when you've been asked, but after you've already said no. So you were asked to participate. You did the pause that we talked about. You finally said, I can't do that. But then all these emotions come rolling in. So I don't want you to be surprised by that. I want you to expect it. You're going to feel those negative emotions. It happens. And it's okay. It's almost like watching the weather roll in. So here's your weather forecast for your emotions. First, you notice it. There's the guilt. And then there's the second guessing, followed by the urge to fix it all. But instead of reacting, you stay put. You stick by your guns. You keep that boundary that you fought so hard to set. And here's something that you can tell yourself when this happens. This guilt, the second guessing, the urge to fix it. This is discomfort. It's not danger. It doesn't mean that you're failing anybody. Your nervous system is reacting to something that's new. Like, whoa, we're doing this now? That doesn't mean you did something wrong. In fact, guilt often means you made a different one. So when you're struggling with that guilt, when you've drawn a boundary, it means you've made a different decision. And it could be the different decision that you've been needing, if I can talk. It's the different decision that you have been needing to make for a long time. This is where the real shift happens. Because the moment after the boundary, this is where the old pattern tries to pull you back. Your job isn't to make the feeling go away. It's to stay with yourself long enough to let the boundary stand. You're just going to ride out those emotions. They're just feelings. You'll ride it out. Your nervous system will settle in a minute. and you'll get to the place you stay true to yourself, let the boundary stand, and you'll get on the other side of it. And then that's where you start seeing the payout. So here's an anchor for you. You can feel uncomfortable and still be aligned with your purpose and mission. Those two things can exist at the same time. That both and mindset we talk about a lot. Discomfort doesn't mean you're off track. Sometimes it means you're finally on the right one, which is a different one than what you're used to. So this week, we're keeping this very simple. You're not trying to overhaul your whole life. You're not trying to say no to everything. You're practicing one small, low-risk no. So maybe you delay a response. That second that your text comes in, you don't have to respond right away. You can delay that a little bit. Maybe you're declining something minor. It could just be this minor little something or other that came up, and you can say no without feeling like the whole world's going to collapse because you didn't show up. Or maybe you simply don't over-explain. So when you set a boundary, you say no, you keep it simple. I can't do that right now. I'm not available for that this week, and just stop. But however you approach this, keep it light, keep it doable. Don't make a huge operation out of it right now and turn your whole life upside down. After you have chosen a boundary and you've said no, you've kept it simple, you kept it light, you kept it doable, let it stand. Even if it feels a little awkward and weird and shaky, even if your mind wants to go back and revisit it and fix it and change it, let it stand. It doesn't have to be perfect and beautiful. It just needs to be a boundary that you set and that you're going to keep, and you're going to let it stand. You're not learning how to say no perfectly. You're learning how to stay with yourself after you do. So as we close, I want to remind you that you're moving from that automatic yes to the intentional choice. And then today I want to remind you that guilt is not your compass. It's just an emotion. Write it out. You'll get on the other side. You're not pushing people away when you set boundaries. You're creating a way to stay connected without losing yourself. And that is where real change begins. A quick reminder, if you want some help setting boundaries and some accountability in keeping those, go to practicalsolutionsforptsd.com/breakthrough and book your one-on-one session today. Hey, my friend, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you please take 30 seconds and share it with someone you know who may be struggling with depression and anxiety? Also, would you please leave a quick review for the show? Knowing how this podcast is helping you fills my heart with so much joy, and it motivates me for future episodes. For now, it's time for Sam and I to head outside to enjoy some sunshine and fresh air. We'll see you back here on Tuesdays and Thursdays for more great episodes.